It is a national debate also playing out here in the Carolinas who trans athletes should be allowed to compete against. In North Carolina, legislation is currently being considered that would ban trans women from playing against cisgender women at the high school level.
Now, in South Carolina, it's already law that transgender student athletes must compete against the gender listed on their birth certificates. Well, tonight we introduce you to two people on opposite sides of the debate. A trans swimmer who just wants to compete against the boys, and a state senator looking to protect girls like the ones she used to coach.
I mean, I've always loved it, and I sound cheesy when I say this, but it's like a place to call home.
For 17-year-old Sean Radek, the pool is his happy place.
Everything just exits my mind, and all I have to think about is making it across the pool or swimming a couple more laps, and it's amazing.
Finding an escape to calm yourself is important for all of us. Maybe even more so for a teenager like Sean on the cusp of adulthood. But for roughly 3 years, he stopped doing the thing that makes him the happiest.
After years of doing something that I love, it was taken away from me because of how I identify.
At 12 years old, Sean came out as transgender.
Going to the pool, having to wear a female bathing suit, that really affected me.
Most of it, he says, was because he just felt uncomfortable swimming. He knew he wanted to present male, but actually doing so at the pool came with its own risks.
I was very scared of getting made fun of by other people and, getting outed as trans in this neighborhood. I don't know the kind of people that live here, and so it was a very scary idea for me.
Sadly, those fears are backed in reality. Statistics show trans people like Sean are more likely to be beaten, raped, or killed than cisgendered people. They also show something that Sean's scars bear a reminder of, that they're more likely to harm themselves and hospitalized for suicide attempts.
I think I just got to the point where I really was so overwhelmed by existing, and that life seemed to be too much for me.
Ultimately, though, he couldn't stay away from the one place that felt like a safe haven. So he summoned up the courage, went to tryouts, and told his coach the deal. That he was trans, on gender-affirming hormones, but that he wanted to swim.
So my coach was like, yeah, absolutely, we can put you on a guy's team if that makes you more comfortable. And I was like, that absolutely does.
Just like that?
Pretty much, yeah.
How relieved were you to be like, okay, that first hurdle, we're over?
Yeah, it was an amazing feeling, just to know that, I was seen and heard by somebody, and that I was where I wanted to be.
And just like that, Sean made his return to the pool, but this time with the tank top binder on, covering up what he didn't want the rest of the world to see. How did the kids on the team receive it?
They didn't know, and I think that was the one thing that I was really happy about. Nobody knew that I was trans, nobody knew that I was different, and that to me meant a lot.
For Sean, his high school doesn't have a swim team. If they did, he says he'd love to compete and plans to do so in college. But that's where things might get a little tricky. Here in the Carolinas, nationally, even internationally, the debate of who trans athletes should compete against has been gaining momentum. The main two questions being raised: is it fair and is it safe?
I want all women to be able to compete on a level playing field.
North Carolina State Senator Vicki Sawyer represents parts of Iredell and Mecklenburg counties. A former athlete and former girls softball, volleyball, and basketball coach, she defines her take on the matter as pro-women, not anti-trans.
So as far as trans women, where should they be able to compete?
I see that they are welcome to play any sport that's not women's. So whether that's a co-ed league or a league that's, men in co-ed, that's where they should be.
Sawyer has drawn criticism from LGBTQ plus communities for her stance, but wants to make it clear. You don't hate trans people?
No, gosh, no. No.
Don't have anything against them, right?
No, gosh, no, not a bit.
She says her only mission is to protect women when it comes to their opportunities and their safety.
Athletics at its core is one of the purest forms of competition, and that should be made level based on not only your hormones but also, your abilities.
When it comes to hormones and leveling the playing field, though, that's where it gets more complicated. Gender-affirming hormone therapy for transgender men and women can change things like body mass, bone density, estrogen, and testosterone levels to those similar of cisgender athletes.
Let's say there's more research done and it proves that we still can't tell a competitive advantage from a research standpoint. Would that change your opinion at all?
What I'm going to look at is real world, everyday examples like the Carey woman, or like the young woman in Cherokee who got hurt, or like Riley Gaines, who couldn't get on the podium because a biological male took her spot. Those are real world examples. I don't know that research would change that.
However, some medical professionals think it should.
We have enough science going back now, into the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
HIV director and physician's assistant Wesley Thompson has been providing gender-affirming hormone care since the late 80s.
Hello?
He says after a trans person has been receiving hormones for 2 years, the playing field between trans and cisgendered athletes would be level across the board.
There would not be a superiority of a trans woman competing with cis women after that period of time.
Taking it a step further, he says a simple blood test could prove that, giving those athletes the documentation to remove any doubt.
Here's my testosterone level, here's my estrogen level. I am equal.
As for Sean, there is one scenario where he thinks him swimming against others wouldn't be equal. If the momentum continues and more trans athletes aren't allowed to compete against the genders that they identify with.
If you were to swim against cis girls, how would you stack up, you think?
I think if I, went against a cisgender girl on my team, I would probably beat them.
Would that be fair?
I don't think it would, no.
He also cautions lawmakers that if they really care about safety, that forcing trans men to play with women and trans women to play with men would force many of them to be publicly outed because of their appearance.
That is taking lives, and I don't know if they realize that yet, but something as simple as not allowing someone to be on a sports team, that is completely, and it's seriously so damaging to someone. You're taking away a community for them, you're taking away friends, you're taking away something that they loved just because of their gender identity.
At the end of the day, it's Sean's hope that something can be done to include everyone, and that more people will be at least willing to sit down and have a conversation.
It doesn't take much to talk to a trans person, I'm here, I'm talking, I'm willing to talk, and I wish people were more open to having conversations like this.
In the meantime, though, Sean will be here at his happy place, shutting out the noise.
Anchor Julian Sador reporting for us tonight. A community of trailblazers breaking barriers across our region. Queen City News is highlighting voices of the LGBTQ community this Pride Month, from fighting for inclusivity in the cockpit and courtroom to creating welcoming spaces for a diverse group of individuals often excluded. Queen City News is sharing their stories this Sunday, June 25th. Watch our Pride Month special right here on Queen City News at 2:30 p.m.